Yeah, I'll always be a metalhead. Nothing can take that away from me.
Right.
I mean, not jail, not people, not religion, not anything. I'll always be a metalhead. Metalhead leaves you all right.
You're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Welcome back, metalheads, to another episode of the Great Metal Debate Podcast. It's your man Xander yet again, and today we are going to be talking about the brand new album from the Scottish power metal band Gloryhammer. This is their fourth full-length studio album titled Return to the Kingdom of Fife. Time sure does fly when you listen to metal. I remember the first time I heard about this band way back in 2013 when they released their debut, Tales of the Kingdom of Fife. Of course, the first song I ever heard by them was Angus McFife. Then 2 years later, the band would unleash their triumphing sophomore called Space 1992 Rise of the Chaos Wizards, which featured hit songs like Rise of the Chaos Wizards and Universe on Fire. Personally, I enjoyed Legend of the Astral Hammer and Goblin King of the Darkstorm Galaxy the most on that album. But in 2019, we got their best album to date, which was titled Legends from Beyond the Galactic Terror Vortex. Every song on that record was a near masterpiece, especially with the hits like the band-named title track, Gloryhammer, and Hoots Force. But to me, the standouts were Battle for Eternity, Masters of the Galaxy, and my personal favorite, Legendary Enchanted Jetpack. Gloryhammer is a band that has created their own lore within their fantasy/science fiction themed lyrics. There is a lot that goes into it, but the basic premise is that there is a ruler of a type of people called the hootsman, and his name is Angus McFife, who is the protector of the ancient powerful warhammer, and he must wield that weapon to slay goblins who are under the command of Lord Zargothrax, who wields the knife of evil. Oh yeah, and there are a lot of unicorns too. Gloryhammer is the only metal band who can confidently sing about unicorns and have it still be cool. Let's face it, this band is made up of a bunch of nerds, and they make music for nerds. So if you like playing Magic the Gathering or Dungeons & Dragons on your spare time, you'll most likely dig this type of music. First, we must address the elephant in the room. The lead singer has been replaced, but it all works out in terms of continuity. Let me explain. So Thomas Winkler was the lead singer for the first 3 albums of the band's discography, using the name Angus McFife VIII. But in the final 12-minute song of the previous album, In the Fires of Ancient Cosmic Destiny, Angus McFife and Lord Zargothrax killed each other while battling in a fight to the death at the top of an erupting volcano. So it would make no sense for Angus McFife VIII to continue as the singer. Now the band has decided that all of this story needed an origin, so they went back in time several generations before to explain why there was ever a conflict in the first place. Now we have a new singer named Sozos Michael, who is using the name Angus McFife V. Those of you unfamiliar, Sozos Michael was the YouTuber who won the vocal contest for the power metal band Helion Prime and became their singer for their second album. I remember being happy that he won the contest, but after hearing the songs with him as the new singer, I was horribly disappointed. Helion Prime just wasn't the same without Heather Michelle, but that wasn't Sozos' fault. He has always been an amazing singer, but he just wasn't a good fit for that band. But now, I strongly feel as though he has a proper home in the band Gloryhammer. Needless to say, he absolutely fucking nails it. He might have had some huge shoes to fill, but he does an impeccable job at delivering vocals on this new record. Last year, they put out a single called Fly Away, and I was more than impressed by Sozos owning that spot as the lead man in the band. A full year has passed, and now we finally get to hear what they have been cooking up in the studio. By the way, if you still want to hear Thomas Winkler sing, check out his new solo project band called Angus McFife and the Sword of Power. The lyrical theme is largely focused on He-Man Masters of the Universe. But for now, let's go back to Gloryhammer. Incoming transmission might be a predictable and skippable intro, but for the first song, Holy Flaming Hammer of Unholy Cosmic Frost is a triumphant start to a kick-ass record. The new voice might be jarring at first to people who are used to the previous 3 albums, but Sozos absolutely owns the microphone. Overall, the sound is still undeniably Gloryhammer at their finest. I like how there was even a callback to the song Rise of the Chaos Wizards with the same operatic chant. Blink and you'll miss it, but it's definitely there. Imperium Dundaxia is heavy with the grinding low guitar fretwork. The drumming is also noticeably crisp in the mixing, but the keyboardist who plays the character of Lord Zargothrax shows off his maniacal, villainous vocals. He's like a natural-born voice actor for a Saturday morning cartoon, but the synth work really enhances it. And now for one of my favorite songs on this blazing new album, goes to the band's latest single, Wasteland Warrior Hoots Patrol. This song is a sing-along bop that will get stuck in your head for days. Even the opening tune will remind you of the corniest 80s fantasy movie soundtrack. Keep in mind that I personally am a big nerd, so I mean that as a compliment. It's all the better when enhanced by Sozos kicking things off with an epic power metal belt. How do you not love their breakdown part of the song where the mighty hootsman Angus McFife cusses out the nuclear goblins, commanding them to get their asses out or else they'll face the power of hoots. After a face-melting guitar solo, we are treated to a fucking saxophone solo. It's perfect. Next up we have the song Brotherhood of Krail. When I first heard the song over the weekend, admittedly I was a little drunk, but I was still able to instantly make a connection with the whoa part. It sounds almost exactly like the whoa part of the song Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend by Powerwolf. I'm sure that wasn't the intention, but it's still a close similarity. However, aside from that, the two songs are drastically different. Besides, it's not like Gloryhammer repeats that part throughout the rest of the track, so I think we're good. I just wanted to point out my observation. As for the remainder, I love the folky singing style as it brings a very medieval element to the table. Fife Eternal continues this trend, but in an alternate way, especially since the electronic moments help it stand out even further. Sword Lord of the Goblin Horde, that's kind of a tongue twister, sounds like the type of song that an ordinary person who isn't a metalhead would get stuck in their head. I can just imagine a regular coworker or friend just randomly mumbling the chorus to the song to themselves. It is very radio friendly in that way. The next track, titled Vorpal Laser Blaster of Pittenweem, is a perfect example of what you should show your peers who have never listened to a power metal song before. Keeper of the Celestial Flame of Abernethy was the first single released for this album, and it was presented to us in the form of an animated lyrical video. It's yet another catchy bop that'll have you singing along, even if the only part you know is, "He's a sorcerer nefarious." But then we come to an extremely long but epic conclusion that has an almost equally long song title. Let me take a deep breath before I say the name of the song. Malfictus Giminis, Colossus Matrix 38B, Ultimate Invocation of the Binary Thaumaturge. That was a mouthful, but I must emphasize that this song is a whopping 12 minutes and 9 seconds, which only makes it 24 seconds shorter than the previous album's finale. It's way too much to unpack here, but it's definitely worth the listen if and when you have the time to devote to it. One part that stood out to me was at the exact 5-minute mark, we get a callback to the song Gloryhammer from the last album. Instead of the double voice chanting the words, "Glory! Hammer!" he instead says, "Double! Wizards!" Gloryhammer's entire discography has always been designed to listen to front to back. Every album is made for listeners to hear the entire CD in full. I couldn't really imagine skipping any Gloryhammer songs. If I'm going to listen to them, I want to make sure that I hear a full record in one sitting. But how would I rate this album? I would say that every member of the band is as good as they have ever been, and Sozos really steals the show, but proving himself to be more than worthy to take over as the new lead singer. Not many bands can pull off the task of replacing a singer and making it work, but they have overcome that obstacle gracefully. Is it better than Legends from Beyond the Galactic Terror Vortex? The answer is, it is a very close second place. Terror Vortex still triumphs in my opinion, but not by much. I believe it's fair to say that Return to the Kingdom of Fife deserves a nice little 9 out of 10.